Hey, I'm Grant. Welcome to Stay the Channel for July 23rd. So I got a lot of progress done on the Ruby on Rails stuff. I don't know if I showed this up. I'm about almost approaching halfway through this book. It takes way longer than you expect, actually. And it's going really, really good. I actually at the point where I have a website. It's not my website. It's basically the book. The book walks you through, but I have a service called Heroku, which lets me push it out, have a real URL. It's not obviously the one I would want. It's just gibberish. But you can go there, you can test it. It's all live, and it works. I'm actually just surprised. It's like, oh, all this stuff just makes sense, and it works. So now just going through and having the book teach me more about some additional backend stuff. Like right now, I think the next thing is to actually make a login function. Like a user can log in and then do security behind all that. Because the big point of this book is at the end of it, you should have this simple little Twitter clone. Doesn't do anything fancy, and obviously doesn't do anything on that same scale that someone can log in and tweet, send a little message. And at the end of that, I should hopefully know everything I need to make my own site and have it be really good. It's crazy when I go and see that, how the stuff I would do manually on my own current site, it can recreate that so easily and so simply. Like there's some things that just never seem to work out on my Drupal site because I was almost fighting the abstraction a little bit too much, where I didn't understand what I need to do because it hid a lot from me, but I still needed to like tie into like the underlying stuff. It was not ideal. But this stuff, it's like, oh, I can do all that so easily, and I understand it. It's awesome. So it's going to be the podcast this week, so probably not going to do as much. I don't have any big deal for the podcast this week. I mainly wanted 22 to be a really good one, and it came out, and it was pretty much everything I wanted it to be. Just a really solid 22 is something where I could sit someone down and be like, start on this one, you'll understand what it is. And that's what it was. So for 23, I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. Still, I'm always having this idea in the back of my mind if I want to go to do it monthly, just because it would be easier to like fit in some other stuff in between. Whereas like right now, for example, any week I have the podcast, which is every other week, I don't really get as much work done on my other projects. So I recognize that, maybe I would advance faster if I pushed it to a week. We'll see. Or I think maybe what we'll do for this one is try to be very targeted in what I talk about and keep it to ideally 30 minutes. Just because, not that I don't have time to record a 30 or 1 hour episode, but it's just the editing. Like it's substantially longer. Like, because it basically takes, I don't know, anywhere from 4 to 8 times as long as the podcast itself to make it. So if you have an hour long podcast, it probably takes like 8 hours. But if I do 30 minutes, that's not that off in terms of like something you would listen to, but that knocks it down to 4 hours instead. And that means that'd be 4 hours I could work on that website. And then once I have the website up, then I can start working on other stuff. And it's a big deal. So we'll see. I'm still out there on my own. I think I'm going to, saying it out loud, I think I'm going to go for the 30-minute episode. It's something I've said I'm going to do before, but it always goes long. So we'll see if I actually hold myself to that this week. Otherwise, I'm working on a couple other things. I'm still streaming D&D on Wednesday nights. It's not really meant for anyone, it's just for me, and I enjoy it. But I'd kind of like to take all the stuff I've learned about that and maybe turn it into a little simple show where I just take one or maybe two of my players, and we're going to sit down, and the idea is to make this show. Like, we're going to play D&D, but it's going to be a lot more involved. We're not going to break character whatsoever, more or less. It's going to be, this is just playing, it's meant to be filmed, it's going to be cut up episodic, and just go from there. So I think that's what would be kind of cool, and see how that goes. And that might be another thing where it's like, here's an introduction, because obviously like no one would just dive in and watch this 4-hour long stream of our D&D game. But here's like a nice bite-sized chunk. And I think that could be kind of cool, because the reason I do that and stream it instead is also because like I spend my time on that and I invest myself into it, and I want to be able to get, I guess, all the benefit out of it as I can. And I don't mean like viewership, but just things like it is useful that, hey, if I'm going to be streaming for 4 hours, problems come up. And it's nice being able to figure out solutions to those on something that doesn't really matter, compared to maybe somewhere down the line I have a big stream I want to do that actually I like put a lot of effort into, and then it failed because of some technical issue. I like to work all that out. Or just, one thing I love about D&D is, as the person who runs the game, it's fun just playing characters. And that's something I don't have a ton of experience in, and it's just easy to just be like, hey, sit down, I'm just going to talk. Just talk. it does ultimately come down to like, just do a presentation for 4 hours. That's kind of nice. I mean, it's not fun necessarily, but it's fun because D&D. But you do get, I think, certain skills. Even with this, like, I think it's something where I don't ever expect the channel to be big, but being able to sit down and talking to a microphone or a camera for 10 minutes really adds up in terms of skill and being able to present and talk to people. So it's useful, I think, but I'd like to do that, and maybe as part of that, I'd like to maybe look at doing my own art. Just really simple stuff. Like right now, we're playing through Prince of the Apocalypse, which is a module for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and it comes with all these pre-built maps and assets. And I'd like to maybe sit down like, hey, let me go through some tutorials on my photo editor, GIMP. Can I just make one of these? Can I make a decent looking playmat for us to use that's custom? Because I'd like to do that. I'd like to be able to make my own thing and maybe even spin this off. And like, there's a couple of things we did in the past that worked out really well, like little sessions. I would love to maybe package together and be like, hey, I wrote this. It's really well play tested. It comes with a bunch of like free art I did. Again, not amazing, but it's exactly what you see is what you get. Whereas normally with D&D, like that's hard to find. Like we would have stuff like, oh, we took this map from this other module and put it here. And it's meant to be only like one house on a road, but the only map I have has 2 houses, so I guess that has 2 houses now. And that's just something you have to deal with. It's very tiny, but it's really nice to have something that it's exactly what you want. And that's what I want to be able to do. So way down the line, it just seems like that'd be something I would like to pursue potentially, and maybe use that to like expand more skills, and then use those skills to maybe work more on the my editing skills for thumbnails and stuff. So speaking of which, I've been going through a lot of tutorials and learned some really cool tricks, and I'm looking forward to being able to try them out on a couple things and see how they work. See if I can make some cool effects that are a little bit more next level, or even just to understand my editor better. Because like right now, I really wing it. I want to get a little bit more into some of the exact tools and the really nice stuff that it has that are really powerful. So that's my plan for the week, though, but mainly just the podcast. That's going to be my main goal, and get some more Ruby in when I can. What's nice is I'm kind of over the initial hump of making the site and understanding the site, so it's much easier for me to consume stuff, because it's no longer do this giant chapter all at once. It's just, here's a section on how it handles validation. That can take me 20 minutes. I can knock that out. It's way easier than having to say, okay, I need 4 hours because I need to do this all in one go. So that's been kind of nice as well. And honestly, I'm kind of at the point where I could probably just make it. It just wouldn't be very good. And I've definitely thought about like seeing them go through certain things on the sample site, what things I would need on my site. Maybe I might, as an exercise, sit down and plot that all out, like what I would want my ideal site to have. Like, oh, about page, a contact page, thing for the podcast, stuff like that. And that'd be kind of cool to do this week. We'll see. But I'll probably talk about it more on the podcast. But as always, I'm Grant. You can contact me on Twitter. It's Grant at takeThe4GrantD, or my email. It's Grant at takeThe4GrantD.com. And I'll be back again next week. I messed that up. I do it every week, and yet sometimes it just doesn't seem to come out. Bye.